research questions. Okay, research questions instead of research objective. So it might be the same, but the way we write the research objective and research question in quali and quanti will be different lah. Okay, and then next one, the research hypothesis. So the research hypothesis by the means it is referring to the early assumptions. Early assumptions ni it is referring to positivist studies, which is quantitative. Okay, for if let's say you want to conduct a quantitative study, meaning that you need to conduct a predetermined assumption related to what will be your findings. Okay, so the hypothesis ni only applicable for quantitative study, not for qualitative. Okay, so hypothesis ni only belongs to quantitative, not for qualitative. And then most of quantitative study, they do not have the operational definition. Why? Because this operational definition, basically they will find as their finding. Okay, as their finding, not as the predetermined. Okay, the qualitative basically they only have the conceptual, but for quantitative researcher we need both. Okay, for quant we need both conceptual and operational definition. Okay, later on I will explain what are the function of conceptual and operational definitions in quantitative research. Okay, if you have any question, then you may ask me directly. Okay, so this one, how to identify the research opportunity. Then I thought everybody shouldn't have any problem lah. Last 2 weeks we already discussed where or how you can get or how you can identify the research opportunity, okay, or the research topic that might attract your interest. Okay, so as far as I know, since everybody in this class belongs to HRD, so make sure any topic that you choose related to HRD. Okay, related to HRD, human resource development, which address the 4 areas. Okay, so specific topic it can come from the issues related to your workplace, for example, high turnover, okay, happening within your organization, for example, or low performance among support staff, for example, or the institution, okay, or personal experience, based on your personal experience. Sometimes the research opportunities couldn't be found in any document, in any report, but it comes from your personal experience. Okay, then you can propose that one. Okay, and then literature from the field of your study. Okay, if let's say you couldn't find any idea based on workplace, institution, personal experience, then you may refer to literature. This one probably may be preferred by fresh grad lah, since they do not have any working experience, so they may refer to the article. Okay, in the research article, so probably you may refer to the back of the research paper under recommendation, for example. So you may find a lot of research recommendation proposed by previous researcher. Okay, so if let's say this is your preference, then make sure you refer to the recent article. Okay, make sure you refer to the recent article so that the proposed research, okay, it is still trying to trying to solve the current issue or the recent issue. Sebab bila kita buat research ni, kita nak pastikan kita cuba menyelesaikan ataupun mencadangkan sesuatu untuk masalah yang sedang berlaku. Okay, why we need to propose something that has been resolved 10 years back, kan? Buat apa kita buat kajian yang sebenarnya tak ada apa-apa kesan pada masa sekarang. Okay, and then perhaps another idea is desire to replicate the work of other researchers in an attempt to better understand or explain a phenomenon. So probably there is one study, one significant study that attract you the most in terms of their methods and the applicability of the finding to your specific organization. So probably your organization, for example. So then you may replicate the study. Replicate ni doesn't mean duplicate. because we just replicate the method, but in terms of the method, we replicate the methods, the variable, but in terms of the literature review, as a researcher, we do it by ourselves. We do not copy and paste from the past work, past studies. So any questions so far? Ada? Okay. Laju sikit. Okay, next one. Okay, so as regarding the format that I've shared to you in last few weeks, okay, in chapter 1, you should start with the background of study. So what is background of study? So sebenarnya saya ada tambah sikit lah. Tadi sepatutnya kita start dengan statement of problem, but I want to brief you what is background of the study. Okay, so in general, it consists of the genesis of the problem. The background of the problem. After you already know what are the issue that you want to address, so you should describe, okay, the background, okay, the background or apa tu dia panggil rentetan, kenapa, bagaimana isu tu berlaku, okay, and then it provide general picture on what currently happening that lead to the studied issue. So under this section of background of the study ni, make sure you report the most recent literature. So kat sini sebenarnya reader akan tertarik dengan kajian kita. Reader will be attracted on the recency of our study. So that's why make sure in this section you try to report article that is they are only 5 years back, dalam lingkungan 5 tahun ke belakang. So meaning that if let's say now is 2022, the least one supposed to be 2018, right? 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, yes, 18. So make sure you report the most recent article here. Why? Because we want to indicate that the issue that you want to address is still happening nowadays. Sebab itu dia punya purpose. Kat sinilah sebenarnya kita punya key di mana kita nak tarik the interest of our reader or examiner. Kat sini. So sebenarnya when doing the research ni, when writing your research, it is not just about the content, but sometimes about the skill on how we can address that the study that we are going to conduct is still significant. Okay, and then these are the elements that should be included. The first one, identify the context within which your study will be conducted and give any background information needed to clarify the context. You provide the context. Sebab kat sini kalau let's say you are going to study about productivity among the manufacturing employees, among employees working in manufacturing. So you should address what are the things that is related to the manufacturing organization. First, probably you may relate to any report, any report that is related to the significance of manufacturing organization towards Malaysia economic contohnya. So that we know, we can see why the study among the manufacturing employees ni is so significant, because they contribute a lot to the Malaysian economy. Example, contoh itu kita nak masukkan context of the study. Then second, tell the reader why the study is important and timely. So timely ni, how we can show it that is timely based on the recency of the articles that we provided in this section. The article or references. And then important ni, you all letaklah important. Kenapa the issue tu important? So that this part you may try to link with any report, any policy that related, any government policy or any policies lah that is related to your study, so that we can see why your study is so important. Okay. And then third, build a case for the statement of the problem to follow. Okay, finally, highlight the key theoretical constructs you will describe in greater depth later in this chapter and in more detail in chapter 2. Okay, so meaning that in this section also, you need to include or introduce the theories that you are going to use in your study under the background of the study. Okay, so you all kena letakkan teori apa yang you all nak pakai dalam kajian you all. You need to introduce your theories here. So make sure all the theories that been stated here is similar to the theory that you introduce in your chapter 2. Similar theory. So that's why basically when you write your chapter 1, 2 and 3, it should be concurrent. Sebenarnya bila you all tulis bab 1 ataupun membaca, when you read, when you are doing your literature review for chapter 1, so basically you can write concurrently your chapter 2 and chapter 3 as well. Sebab ada content tu dia akan saling berkait, related to one and another. Okay?
Doctor.
So example.
Dr. Syahril here, I just want to ask you some question.
The lecture note
regarding
I not yet uploaded because I just completed reviewing my lecture. This is the example of background of study. Okay. In manufacturing industry, storing and retrieving are significant activities in influencing productivity. So the storage assignment will influence the efficiency of the ordering picking. For example, Chan 2022. So I mentioned the latest literature. Okay, and then factors such as warehouse layout, demand, location of items, and picking methods affect the efficiency of the system. Okay, also the recent literature, redesign the process, new equipment, layout or automation, computerization of process, and use operational policies are necessary to increase system efficiency. Okay, and the study is conducted at one of the apparel industry in Malacca, which is a multinational manufacturing company with worldwide operation. So other than you introduce the study interest, you also need to introduce your study target population. Okay, and then this study is about to assess the storage and retrieval system and propose an alternative system that can increase the efficiency and thus reduce the operating cost of the industry. So this study is supported by theory of physical system, which postulated the productivity based on 3 main processes of transformation, transportation, and storage as introduced by Sushil and Jane, 1988. Kat sini kita just introduce our theory, but detailed discussion or detailed explanation will be in our chapter 2. My speaker problem. Is there any problem with my speaker? Ada problem ke dengan speaker saya? Boleh ke? Everybody couldn't hear my... Hold on.
Sorry, doctor, we can hear you, but you are not allowed to hear us.
Now, is it clear? No. Okay. Allahu Akbar, dah separuh jalan dah. Sorry. Is there any question?
Doktor tak dengar kita orang.
Is there any question? Just realize that I didn't connect my...
Doktor tak dengar kita.
Oh, I can hear you, but you can hear me, but I can't hear you.
Yeah.
Mana dah? Tapi kenapa saya tak boleh dengar you all lah? Hold on. Oh, ke saya? Hold on.
Cobaan.
Oh, patutlah. So is it okay now? Can anyone?
Doktor dengar tak?
Kita orang.
Assalamualaikum.
Tak boleh lagi.
Testing.
Assalamualaikum.
Tak boleh lagi. Macam mana ni? Kejap
Cancel kelas ni.
Okay, saya dengar?
Dengar.
Dengar?
Patutlah bagi salam tadi pun doktor tak jawab. Syaril tanya.
Saya mute kan. Patutlah saya tak dengar. Okay.
Kesian Syaril.
Okay, is there any question?
Syaril.
Patutlah semua diam je. Saya ingat, ya Allah. Hai. Ada soalan tak?
Doctor, I just want to ask you one question regarding the
Syaril, I
theory
couldn't hear you. Tadi
Alamak,
dengar.
sedianya.
Okay, now dengar.
Hello.
Dengar. Okay, now dengar.
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Hello.
Can you hear me, Doctor?
Dengar? Yes, I hear you.
Alright, thank you. Actually, I want to ask one question regarding the theory that you mentioned just now.
Yes.
Okay, let's say I would like to write about woman leadership or woman empowerment. So the theory that we can put into the first chapter regarding to the woman empowerment or regarding to leadership that relate to what is the issue that we're going to describe or seek
Again, your
further
Your
clarification.
study related to women empowerment, women leadership.
Yes. This is the example. I just giving an example. If the studies regarding the woman leadership or woman empowerment, I just want to ask you what types of theory that we can put relating to that topics.
Okay, so for example, the topic is related to women empowerment. So basically, either you do the qualitative or quantitative study. So, I start with a qualitative study. When you conduct a qualitative study, make sure the theory that you choose is the one that related to the focus of your study. If let's say the focus of your study is to explore or exploring the women empowerment, so make sure that the theory that been mentioned in the background of the study is theory on empowerment. Okay, theory on empowerment. But if let's say you are conducting a quantitative study related to factors influencing empowerment among women employees, for example, among women employees. So the theory that should be located here is make sure the theory related to your DV. So the explanation here will be related to the literature review as well. When you look for the theory, make sure the theory is starting from your DV for quantitative research. Okay, for quantitative research, make sure when you look for the theory, start searching from your DV, theory explaining your DV. Okay, but for some qualitative studies, it is not necessarily have the theory. For example, when you are proposing something new, which is you want to come up with grounded theory, because later on we are going to learn about design under qualitative and quantitative. So one of the design under the qualitative study is grounded theory. So for grounded theory, since there is no theory on the area, so that's why your study going to propose a new study later on. So ada possibility yang kajian dalam kuali ni tak ada teori. But for quantitative, because that's why the qualitative study ni kita panggil explanatory study. But for quantitative study, the other name is confirmatory study. Confirm ni meaning that when we conduct a quantitative study, we want to confirm the theory. So that's why it is compulsory to have theories in quantitative studies. Okay, saya explain ada soalan lain?
Thank you, Dada.
Obviously, kalau dekat sini, the way how we write our chapter 1, chapter 2 for quali and quanti berbeza lah kan, since Okay,
Dia ada perbezaan. Dia ada perbezaan. That's why, ini joke sikit lah kalau you all tengok the approach of Prof Ismi and me a little bit different. So Prof Ismi, Dr. Murshid, the way he approach student pun different. Kalau orang kuanti, dia biasanya dia approach person ni quantitatively. Okay, dah. Saya jawab okay, saya tanya okay, awak okay hari ni? Okay, so that's it. But qualitative person, when they, are you okay, sihat tak hari ni, they will probe more. So qualitative ni, they are more in depth. But quantitative ni, if let's say there is someone answer no, that means that no, we are no longer interested to probe further. Itu contoh lah contoh. Karakter contoh itu dia punya memang ada perbezaan perbezaan yang sangat ketara antara kuali dengan kuanti daripada awal hinggalah akhir. So mana yang possible, because it's quite difficult to find one book that can explain both. So that's why whenever possible, I'll try to address the differences between the two. Okay, so that's why I need Prof Ismi lah, sebab saya I just have a little experience on qualitative. So that's why I need Prof Ismi. But for quantitative, insyaAllah. Okay. Okay, any more question? Lagi tak? Ada? Okay. Next one, research statement of problem or statement of problem or SOP. Okay, bukan standard of procedure. So kat sini memang kalau kat UPM ni kalau kita sebut SOP tu dia referring to standard of procedure pula, statement of problem. Okay, so all research start out by identifying meaningful problem or opportunity about which we want to gain better knowledge or find a solution. So kat sini sebenarnya tadi kita dah jumpa apa yang before we start our study we already identified the gap that we want to address, but now we just translate into the writing form. Okay, so a research problem is a perplexing or troubling condition. Okay, both qualitative and quantitative researchers identify a research problem within a broad topic area of interest. The purpose of discipline research is to solve the problem or to contribute to its solution by accumulating relevant information. So a problem statement articulates the problem to be addressed. Okay, so macam mana how to identify the problem? Similar, read your literature. Even though you have the experience, even though in your study you want to address your experience or the issue that has been identified by your own experience, but still when you write an academic report, you need to get support from literature. Okay, you still kena dapatkan support daripada literature. For qualitative part, in this section, you can address you can individually address your experience. But for quantitative, it is strongly not recommended to address you can address your experience, but you cannot use the word I in this section. Kita tak boleh nak address kita punya bias for quantitative researcher, but for quali it is possible. Okay. Okay, so the second one, okay, this is the first source. Reading your literature is the first source of figuring out your statement of problem. The second one is the problem based on experience. Ini contoh, saya bagi contoh kat sini how you can transform your personal experience to statement of problem. Okay, so for example, let's suppose we are working at a university where the attrition rate from the doctoral program is higher than the historical or average of doctoral programs throughout Malaysia. So that's clearly a problem we could investigate. So ini dia, kalau let's say you all tanya, what is the practical problem? Ini dia contoh practical problem, practical gap. Okay, the practical in which you have experienced it. Okay, it is related to practice. Okay, so our school has an attrition rate greater than 50%. So this is the practical gap. So kalau dalam bila kita buat kajian, practical gap ni dia punya rating ataupun weightage dia sangat tinggi. Meaning that kita akan solve the practical issue if you conduct, if you have the practical based problem ni. Okay. So ni kat sini saya tulis, this type of problem is generally called a practical or applied research problem because it focuses on an issue within an organisation. So kalau you all ada isu ni memang sangat bagus. Nyatakan. Okay. Next one. So in another applied case, so I might focus on a problem among ERS5900 students I taught. So for example, regardless of the amount of exercise they do, ERS5900 students do not score in final exam. This is another example of practical gap. Okay, finally, I might focus on a problem that many employers today seem to be wrestling with. Example, employees who smoke are less productive than those who do not smoke. Okay. Okay, any question? Dah nampak dah apa dia practical gap? Okay, next one, theoretical or basic research problem. Okay, come from conflict or contradictions in previous findings or a desire to extend the knowledge about a specific problem area. Okay, so for example, like if you have, when you read your literature or when you read your references related to the influence of engagement, work engagement towards performance, for example, some of researchers, they figure out that there are positive relationships. Some figure out that there is a negative, for example. So the meaning that there are contradictions in the findings between researchers in literature. So then you can address this contradiction as part of your statement of problem. Meaning that further study need to be conducted to confirm the direction of the relationship between the two variables. Itu pun salah satu gap yang kita boleh nyatakan. Okay, so for example, let's say we have found conflicting research regarding how to support dissertation students in an online environment. So we could easily write a problem statement such as, this problem statement implies that multiple studies, for example, literature focused directly on the problem area, have been conducted about supporting online dissertation students. Apparently, there is no consensus on the best approach. So, lagi satu, selain daripada you all identify the gap itself, make sure you know the word to be used, the keywords to be used. Okay, in our Putra Blast, I uploaded one document on, saya lupa apa nama dokumen tu.
Facebook.
Apa dia?
Facebook
Something.
Academic Freeze Bank. Yes, Academic Freeze Bank. So you can use that one as a reference to write your own statement of problem, as well as to identify the research gap when you read your literature. Biasanya itulah the keywords yang akan digunakan. Okay. Okay, for example, these studies may have been based on traditional learning theories such as behaviorism and constructivism. Our job would be to conduct further studies using the same construct to help better explain or support prior results. So we might actually attempt to replicate one or more of the studies to determine if the results might be different using another population of students or different pedagogical tools based on the same learning theories. So we could also attempt to extend the work by investigating a different approach. So ini, for example, there is a conflicting research on how to support dissertation students in an online environment. Conflicting means that the findings are in contradiction. So how we supposed to know there are contradiction? Meaning that you need to conduct your own analysis. How to conduct the analysis? Up to you. Which tools that might be preferable to you to help you or to assist you in doing your literature review or analysis. Okay, kalau let's say later on kalau let's say ada kursus berkenaan dengan systematic literature review, so then probably you might interested to join lah kalau siapa-siapa yang anjurkan specific literature review, because that one will assist you in arranging your literature. Kalau you work smart enough, sebenarnya when you read tu sebenarnya you dah boleh buat analisis siap-siap. Okay. Okay, any question? Okay. Okay, in another example, one of my students was interested in using video to teach basic concept in his undergraduate research methods and statistic classes, for example. So he searched the literature and found that many students had been conducted with varying results in another disciplines. Unfortunately, none of them dealt with research methods and statistics. So because the result of using video might vary from field to field, so it led him to state, there have been no studies investigating the use of video in undergraduate research method and statistic class. So make sure when you come up with this conclusion, you already reviewed all past studies that is possible to be assessed to you. To be accessed, not to be assessed, to be accessed to you. Only then you can come up with this statement. Bila kita nak kata tak ada kajian, kalau kita risau nak kata langsung tak ada kajian, because we might afraid that there might be related studies that not be accessible to us. Okay, so then you may say that there have been limited studies. Itu ayat yang paling selamat. There have been limited studies investigating the use of videos in undergraduate research methods and statistic class. Itu contoh ayat selamat dia adalah limited study. Kalau let's say you really confirm that there is no study, then you can confidently use this one. Tapi kadang-kadang kita tak sarankan guna no study terus ni, because when we doing our study ataupun bila kita dah during our data collection process, so that might be possibility that people's already publish articles related to our study. Possible. Kita tengah buat data collection, tapi maksudnya when we do our literature review ni, orang dah buat separuh jalan, cuma belum publish. Tapi bila kita when we start when we start doing our data collection, so memang dah ada yang tiba-tiba publish, baru je publish related to closely related to our study. Okay, so that's why ayat selamat dia guna limited studies. Okay, next one. Using suggestion for future research. Okay, so for example, become an expert in your field. So macam mana? So based on past study. Banyak memang kena baca, kena rujuk past study. Kita read and then read some more literature. Okay, so to me, if let's say you ask me in terms of the number of article that you should read at the master level, it should be around 100 or 200. Kalau PhD, 500 and above. Baru cukup. Sebenarnya, kalau master science ke, then master science you should consider 200 and above lah. Okay, get to know the relevant literature in a field. So make sure kalau you all dah pilih performance, for example, your study is related to employees' performance in manufacturing company. So make sure you identify all the related keywords. Because keywords ni very important to a researcher when they are doing their literature review. Why? Because the choose of the right keywords will lead you to the right article or the right references. Okay. Sometimes the research that you the articles that you look for couldn't be found in your area. But if let's say you use the right keyword, it can lead you to the right article even though it is from different area. Kadang-kadang productivity ni mungkin limited dalam HRD, but there are a lot of studies related to productivity. Kalau kita guna keyword performance, sometimes it is just link us to the HRD area. But kalau kita guna productivity, so probably it will lead us to engineering area. Sebab engineering dia guna productivity. So make sure you are pandai bermain dengan keywords when look for your literature. Okay, and then you can also referring to the suggestion for future research section. Okay, in the article, future trends, conclusion or other titles to that effect. Okay, in that section, the article's authors points a doctoral researcher even more in the direction they may want to go. Suggestion for future research, for example, so then you can get the gap from there. Okay, selain daripada you all dapat the idea to conduct your study, then you can also get the idea of restatement of problem from the statement from the suggestion section ni. Okay. Next one, speaking with expert in the field. Okay, go get the expert for help. For example, if your supervisor is Prof. Ismi, so then talk to him. So what are the areas that the possible areas to be studied? For example, related to leadership, maybe. Okay, you can contact you also can contact through email. Okay, the expert ni discuss with expert and get permission to get a copy and to use instrument from original. Ni sebenarnya dah link to your chapter 3 ni contohlah Okay, next one. Yes.
Doktor, dekat mana the differences between our advisor dengan our supervisor?
Yang tu tak boleh tanya kat sini. Itu time briefing. The differences between advisor and supervisor. So the advisor will assist you in selecting your courses or in assisting you in the whole study period. Itu tugas sebagai penasihat akademik. Okay? Okay, faham? Itu
advisor boleh kita jumpa advisor untuk kita discuss siapa supervisor yang bersesuaian. Of course lah kan.
Okay. Supposedly yes. Okay, so you may meet your supervisor, your advisor to get the advice on the to get advice related to the topic of interest, and then her or his recommendation on the most suitable supervisor according to your area. Okay, boleh jumpa. Okay, and then also you can also check on our website. Senang je dekat fakulti. There's not many lecturer in our department. If let's say you are interested in leadership, we have two options. Okay, for example, Prof Ismi and Dr. Aizuddin. If you are interested in training, then we have Prof Ismi, Dr. Wahiza, and Dr. Nurul Afika. Okay, then if let's say you're interested in youth study, then we have Dr. Murshid and Prof Latif. If you are interested in what else? OD, organizational development, then you might prefer to check on Dr. Faik, me myself. Okay, siapa lagi? Dr. Syuhada. And then if you are interested in volunteerism or community development, then you may go to Dr. Siti Rabaa. If you are interested related to talent management and career development, it is Prof Rozia. Semua dalam kepala dah. Okay. But basically for general HRD, semua orang HRD boleh. Sebab semua kita datang daripada HRD. Tapi kalau you all nak buat leadership, pergilah dekat orang leadership. Sebab saya ni mungkin tak tahu, tak pandailah bab leadership sangat. Pergi dekat orang leadership, Prof Ismi, Dr. Aizu ataupun Dr. Afika. Dr. Afika pun boleh sikit-sikit. Sebab dia baru lagi kan. Okay, lagi? Apa lagi? Oh, tadi siapa lagi? Supervisor. Perbezaan supervisor will assist you in dissertation or in thesis writing. Okay, for dissertation students, so meaning that after you select your supervisor in your third or second semester, then he or she will help you in the whole process lah. But for those who doing master science and PhD, after you nominate your supervisory committee, the committee will help you. The committee, particularly the supervisor, will help you in the rest of the progress of your thesis lah. Okay, tapi kalau ada masalah dengan pengajian, then you may refer to the advisor. Advisor ni akan bertanggungjawab sehinggalah you all graduate. Okay, tapi biasanya kalau untuk masa sains dan PhD, once you elected or nominate your supervisor, dia dah tak bertanggungjawab sangatlah. Okay? Clear Siapa yang tanya tadi?
Thank you, Dr. Nomi.
Okay. Next one, attending conferences or professional meetings. So each year there are literally thousands of conferences dedicated to almost any discipline. Okay, then one of the most regular conference for HRD adalah AHRD. Okay, Academy of Human Resource Development, which we conduct last year lah. Kalau kat Malaysia last year, tapi sebenarnya the conference tu being conducted every year. But last year kita dapat sebagai host. Okay, and then personally, so for example, I attend quite a few educational research conferences. While I'm there, I see many of the people whose names I recognize from the literature I have read. So kadang-kadang bila kita pergi attending conference ni, it provide us with the opportunity to meet the academia, the expert or the practitioner. So we can get we can try to identify the gap from there. Okay, kalau tak ada idea sangat. Okay. This is another recommendation by Martin. Martin 1980 proposed that the problem can evolve in 4 circumstances. First, little or no research on a particular topic. Yang ni sama macam yang saya dah address tadi. There is some research but it has not been applied to enough samples or is not or in enough situation to be considered a reliable phenomenon. So probably the study of interest, previously been conducted qualitatively. among a very small sample. So that's why your current study you propose to be conducted among larger population through quantitative study. So itu pun dah boleh jadikan gap. Okay, so another one research abound but the findings are contradictory. So similar, tadi saya dah sebut, two theories explain the same phenomena but recommend or predict different outcomes. So this one, it reflect the theoretical gap. Yang paling susah katanya nak jumpa theoretical gap. So ini salah satunya. Okay. Tengah masak air nak buka puasa. Okay. So next one. Okay, so there are few types There are few types of research gap. Sebenarnya kalau dalam literature ni banyak sangat research gap yang kita jumpa dan not necessarily we address all. But most of the time we ask for at least 3 types of research gap in your thesis writing. The first one, practical gap, practical gap, theoretical gap, and this methodological gap ni it can combine with research gap. Okay, first practical gap. It is a compulsory to have one practical gap. Second one, the theoretical gap. Third one, research gap. Because sometimes the methodological gap ni it been put or located under the research gap. So dia boleh sekali. Research gap, practical gap, theoretical gap. Ya. Okey, ni saya bagi beberapa contoh tuan. Sini. Sini tak ada. Ni ada beberapa contoh. These are okay, this is a little bit explanation lah. So apa dia evidence gap? So evidence gap ni occurs with a provocative exception arises if a new research finding contradicts widely accepted conclusion. Ini sama macam saya sebut tadi. So this gap involve contradictions in the finding of the prior research. It occurs if results from studies allow for conclusions in their own right, but are contradictory when examined from a more abstract point of view. So the identification of contradictory evidence start with analyzing each research stream. So subsequently, the research from this analysis need to be synthesized in order to reveal contradictory evidence. Ini contoh dia. Contoh macam mana nak tulis. The researcher identified an apparent research gap in the prior research concerning blah 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 blah. Ni contoh. Nanti insyaAllah saya boleh share this one Okay, next one. Ni contoh empirical gap. Ni contoh methodological gap. Sorry, knowledge gap. So the knowledge gap is common gap in the prior research. There are 2 settings where a knowledge gap might occur. First, knowledge gap. Knowledge may not. Allahu Akbar. Manalah tadi? Ni dia tak nak tunjuk pula kat sini Ni Okay, first, knowledge may not exist in the actual field to theories and literature from related research domains. Second, it might be the case that results of a study differs from what was expected. Ini maksud dia knowledge gap. This is the practical gap. Tadi dah sebut pasal practical gap ni. Methodological gap, macam contoh past study being conducted in qualitative but now you are proposing a quantitative. Why? Then so provide the justification why. Okay, jangan sebut kata past study buat qual dan sekarang you nak buat quant, tak cukup. You need to provide justification why a quantitative study is necessary. Okay? Empirical gap, theoretical gap. Ni contoh theoretical gap. Explanation regarding theoretical gap. Okay, so the theoretical gap is the type of gap that deals with the gaps in theory with the prior research. So for example, if one phenomenon is being explained through various theoretical models, similar to a methodological gap conflict, there might be a theoretical conflict. So researchers and scholars could examine whether one of those theories is superior in terms of the gap in the prior research. Okay, to identify the theoretical gap ni, you need to determine the gist of theory. Gist ni the main idea of the theory. Sebenarnya kalau you all baca betul-betul regarding one theory ni, idea dia sikit je. Okay, so then you try to figure out what missing in the theory. Because the theory ni will provide you the general explanation. Kan, theory ni will provide you with the general explanation. Different with model. Model ni dia kecil, but theory ni general. Okay, so then to link ataupun to create a gap related to theory ni, so probably you can link small thing within that theory tu. For example, theory of planned behavior. Okay, theory of planned behavior ataupun social exchange theory. So in general, social exchange theory indicated that any social terms, any social means will influence human behavior, contohnya. So then you specify what are those social means. Those social means can be part of it is the the way people interact. For example, facial behavior, facial intonation, for example, macam mana intonation boleh mempengaruhi tingkah laku. You specify the elements. Okay, because again the theory will provide you with the large explanation. So in your study, you specify that, you specifickan apa yang you nak kaji, then link to the theory. Okay. Okay, next one. Okay, so these are the characteristics of a good statement of problem. Okay, so first make sure the problem is interesting to the researcher. Ini yang saya selalu advise lah. Make sure the title or the study interest comes from the researcher, not from the supervisor. Okay, because you are the one who are going to conduct the study, not your supervisor. So make sure you have some attachment towards your study. Okay, and then the scope of the problem is manageable by the researcher. Okay, please consider your time frame. If you are doing your dissertation in 2 semesters, so make sure, okay, your study period ni can be managed in 2 semesters. Okay, the whole process. If you are doing master science, then make sure your study can be completed within 4 to 5 years. For those who are doing PhD, your study is possible within 3 to 10 years or within 3 to 6 years, for example. Okay. The researcher has the knowledge, time, and resources needed to investigate the problem. Okay, next one, the problem can be researched through the collection and analysis of the data, meaning that it is possible to study the topic. Jangan kaji sesuatu yang impossible. Susah ada For example, you are studying something related to spirit. Agama ke, something yang it is impossible to be studied. Nanya kang. Okay, next one, investigating the problem has theoretical or practical significance, meaning that you make sure your study, the selected topic too has a theoretical and will contribute significantly to the theory and practice. Okay, and then it is ethical to investigate the problem. So meaning that kalau kita we are studying in science, in social science, it does not involve any manipulation towards human. So for example, we provide some medicine towards our respondent. So make sure it is ethical. Okay, so this one, how to write SOP, clear and concise. So for example, higher student engagement in courses using online learning management system. So is this a problem?
No, it's not a problem.
Nanti saya fikir dulu. Okay. What about this one? Observation indicate that there are low levels of student engagement when using online management systems in our school.
Yes, we can say this is a problem. Yeah.
So this is a problem. Okay.
Yeah.
Lagi tak? Contoh. Next one. epilepsy and diet. Is this a problem?
Setengah orang problem diet ni.
No,
No.
this is statement. No.
No, it's not a problem.
Diet problem to someone.
Okay, what about this one? Seizure disorder in children are a prevalent concern in the United States.
That is the problem.
Yes.
Yes, it is a problem. Okay.
Oh.
Okay, next one.
Prof.
Yes. No, I'm a doctor only. Bukan prof.
Okay, doctor, sorry.
Yeah.
Can we go back to the previous slide?
Boleh.
What the problem?
Mana? This one.
I just wanted, let's say the second example, observation indicates that there are low level student engagement. If then we consider this as a problem. Do we have to prove with anything that saying in this observation is a problem?
Literature. Provide the support from the literature. Yang ni saya letak literature lah. Make sure you locate the support from literature. Okay, then it is recent literature. Okay, cuma saya tak letak lah.
Doctor,
Yes.
regarding with the same question,
Okay.
just you, as what you said just now, we have to support our observation based on a few research or journal or articles. But at the same time, we can also put our observation in the statement of problem.
Boleh? Okay, dia macam ni.
Boleh.
Dia macam ni. Okay, even though first we start with our own experience. Okay, if let's say you are an expert in the area, so then for sure you can propose your own statement. But since you are a novice researcher, even though you experience it or you have direct experience related to it, still you need to provide the support to convince your reader. Nanti dia tanya, doktor macam kontradik pula, macam bukan idea kita orang pula. Then how we are going to look for someone that have shared similar experience with us? Ada, because we are not the first living things on the earth. Ada. When you do your own study, do your own searching, then you will figure out that there are some people that also experience the same thing. It probably not specific to our area. For example, we are working in service industry, so probably the engagement low engagement ni probably in manufacturing, but you can use similar thing, adapt to it. Faham? Okay, because we need support to convince our reader. Bila kita buat research dalam akademik ni memang kena ada.
Okay, doctor. For example, I give you one situation. For example, I like to look into the, let's say, financial literacies among the government servant. Based on my observation, I said that financial literacies will be affected to the contribution or the motivation, a few independence variable. So that statement, I need to find related articles to support my observation.
Yes, then
that means articles regarding the financial literacies, about motivation, about satisfaction, or about job performance. Is it like that?
Yeah. And then probably you can go to the accounting area or business area if you are interested in that topic lah. Kan? You have your own experience, and then probably at the end of your literature ni, then you can locate you can locate the support here, because we know somehow this statement should come from the researcher, but you just provide the support. Support ni means that there are also people having that same experience. Dia bukannya kita kata bila when you locate your reference here, meaning that the statement here belongs to the researcher. No. Sorry, belongs to the other author. No. It just we provide support that the issue not just being experienced by us, but also by other people. So that indirectly we say that it is a significant thing to be addressed.
Doktor, contohnya kalau laporan audit negara ke mana kita boleh mention lah. Teknologi negara menyatakan bahawa terdapat mungkin kebocoran apa-apa
boleh.
proses.
As long make sure the document that you share tu bukan yang confidential lah. As long as dia bukan confidential, you all ada proof, ada statistik. Because dunia sekarang ni dunia empirical. If you want to say something, then make sure you have support. Sebab apa lah biasa saya cakap lupa hari ni saya terlupa. Okay, sebab when we do research, we do not exaggerate things ataupun kita tak make sure that the information that we report to does not misleading, because there might be the tendency of the organisation to sue us if let's say we report the misleading statement. So be careful. So that's why apa-apa yang kita cakap ada support, ada support. Itu pentingnya. Jangan kita takut nanti kita buat statement tu dia boleh jadi statement yang jatuh fitnah. Jangan kongsi lagi tak pasti jangan kongsi. Ayat dia. Okay? Any more question? Ada lagi kat sini? Ada dah. Okay, next one. Yes,
sorry.
Yes,
Sebelum pergi tadi sebab walaupun kita pergi dekat Good SOP, back to the research gap. So we have 3 practical, theoretical, methodology. Do we need to address all the gaps, all the 3 gaps, or we just pick 1 or 2 gap in our dissertation?
You need to have all the 3. The practical gap, it is a compulsory. No, basically you can write 1 for each. 1 paragraph for each, 1 paragraph for each. Supposedly 3 research gap already enough. You need to have a practical gap. Theoretical gap is a must, it's a compulsory. Same goes to practical gap. What the purpose of conducting a study if you do not contribute anything to practice? Kita kan orang yang bekerja, kan? Kalau kita tak buat kajian tapi tak ada sumbangan dekat amalan, kita buat apa? Right? The theory ni sebab it is academic. If let's say you are in practice later on, it is not necessary for you to have the practical theoretical gap. Next one is the most easiest one, which is the methodological or research gap. Research methodological ni somehow it falls under the so the research gap lah. Contradictory in the literature and so on tu semua bawah research gap. Okay, so next one, it must include all variables to be considered. Okay, for example, if we wanted to investigate the relationship of different piano manufacturers and perceived quality by musicians, would there be anything wrong with this problem statement? Kita tengok ni. Pianos from different manufacturers have different tones. Ada isu tak? Dengan this statement. Ada tak? Is this considered to be a clear and concise statement of problem? Okay. Next one. Ni nanti you all evaluate sendiri lah, no? Okay, so is the problem statement below valid if we are interested in investigating the ability of a dog to be trained and whether the dog was purchased from a breeder or from a pet shop? Pet store. For example, there is a difference in the ability to be trained between puppies that were purchased from a breeder and puppies that were purchased from a pet store. So ini pun boleh dikatakan a clear gap lah. Okay, there are different. There is a different. Ada beza. Okay. Next one, should not interject the bias of the researcher. For example, if I was arguing for the need for more technology in our public schools, I might write this study will prove that purchasing computers to use in the elementary school curriculum will increase achievement. But this one, as what I said earlier, sometimes, for the quantitative researcher, then you cannot include your bias. Bias ni maksudnya you indicate yang masalah tu comes from you. I, the use of I. But for qualitative researcher, it is possible. It is possible to address your bias. Itu untuk qualitative, possible. Because sometimes there is a unique experience that not yet been addressed by other researcher. Ada. Okay? Okay, what about this one? Students who do not use computers as part of their curriculum have lower achievement than students who use computers as part of their curriculum. So this is also part of one of the example of statement of problem. Okay. Okay. Ini you all boleh tengok dalam phrase bank tu lah. Okay, compilation of phrase bank that you can use. So the problem of this study is there has been little evidence on. So far there has been little agreement on about. There is little published research on. Okay, data about efficacy and safety of X are limited. A search of literature revealed few studies which. Ini contoh Okay, research question. Dah apa dah? 7 minit dah. Okay, shall we continue next week? Boleh? 7 already.
Boleh.
Boleh So,
Boleh.
we will continue next week lah, research question. So before we stop, so I do hope that you already start your writing. So make sure when you select the topic right now, the topic that you selected today will be used for your seminar and then for your actual actual research for dissertation, so that you didn't do the similar job more than once. Kan? Kita orang HR buat kerja sekali dah. Cuba buat kerja sekali. Okay? Okay.
So,
So
how many pages?
How many pages?
Recommended for chapter 1 to 3.
How many pages? Susah ni. Okay, so is it okay 10 page for chapter 1, 10 around 15 page for chapter 2 and 10 page for chapter 3. Tapi chapter 3 tak banyak. Maximum 10 page lah, macam tu lah. 10, 15, 10. Boleh? Around 35 in total. Boleh? Boleh if possible, in week 7 or 8, you submit your first draft. Because as what I promised earlier, okay, the first submission I will review, okay, without not yet giving you mark, but the second review tu akan di hujung semester tu barulah akan bagi markah. Okay, at least on our 7 or 8 weeks tu hantar dulu, or until we complete certain part tu, then you submit, so that I can see you are in the right direction lah. Okay, saya akan review
in week 8 betul?
Kita cuba week 8 kalau kita ni sempat lah week 8. Sebab ni dah hari tu last week tak ada kelas, lagi satu nak raya ni pula Okay, kita tengok, tapi kita we plan for week 8 dulu for first submission. Okay, the final submission tu during your final exam lah, final submission tu. Okay?
Alright, thank you, Dr.
Okay, so thank you so much. That's all for today, guys. So insyaAllah see you next week. Assalamualaikum.
Thank you, Dr.
Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor. Assalamualaikum.
Salam.
Thank you, Doctor.